Alright, welcome. Something different again from my channel. I'm doing a item tier list for Risk of Rain 2. As to not make this video literally 3 hours long, I'm only going to be doing the common items, the white ones. And I'm basically going to be doing it on how useful they are in general for me. Obviously, I will play different to everybody else, but these are just what I found, especially with how I'm running as few items as possible in my monsoon runs, just because these are the ones that are staples, good, and I'm gonna be quite mean. So first up is Rusted Key. Straight off the bat, F tier. Why? Because you don't need it. It doesn't really do anything for you. You have to either have radar scanner or get lucky to find the hidden chests, so it's not really great. Repulsion armor plate. This is good for mitigating damage. I tend not to run it very often, but I can see how good it can be, so I'm gonna throw it here in C tier. Personal shield generator. I run this a lot. It scales off HP with the shield, and the shield is after a delay, rapidly recharging. This, I'm probably going to go... I'm going to go up here. Paul's Goat's Hoof. Flat movement speed increase. You're going to want movement speed items. It's not the one I get, but if you don't have Survivors of the Void DLC, it's actually quite good to have. I'm going to throw it C tier. Power Elixir. This gives you 50% of your health back when you drop to 25% health. This is good for saving your life. And you only need one of them because they don't stack. I'm actually going to throw this up here in B tier. You may get lucky and not need it, or this may give you the difference between winning a run and losing a run. So, good item. Oddly shaped opal. This mitigates the first hit of damage. It is quite powerful, but because it only does one hit, it could save your life against someone like Mithrix, who you're not getting hit by very often, but as soon as you get hit, the effect goes away for a time, so it's going down in the D tier. Monster Tooth. Drops healing orbs when you kill enemies. I'm going to say it's not as strong as lifesteal items, but as a melee character it kind of comes into its own. I think I might be slightly generous and I might give this a D tier as well, otherwise it'd be E tier. Medkit. This is another healing item, and to be honest it's not really that great. Whenever I have them in normal runs without Artifact of Command on, I don't really feel them, if that makes sense, and I never really pick them up. No, let me rephrase that. I never pick them up if I'm running Artifact of Command. This is going F tier. Tri-tip dagger. This is a good item for adding damage, especially onto single targets. However, because of Shatter Spleen, you may not even need this item. However, because of Needle Tick that corrupts this item, this comes up to here. It's almost S tier. You can grab it on every run and not worry about corrupting it, and not worry about if you get the if you get Shadow Spleen, because you can corrupt it. So it's incredibly versatile, and it just helps with chipping down tough enemies. Tougher Dimes. Chance to block damage. The best hardy item in the game, and it's S tier. I will never go a run without this item. It basically gives you a chance to take no damage, and when Mithrix can hit you for a headload of damage, I think that's really good, just in case. It may come in clutch, it may not. It's kind of like gambling with your own life, but who wants to gamble? Topaz Brooch. This gives you a temporary shield on kill. I could put it up here with Monster Tooth, but the frequency at which you have to kill enemies, or the amount of these that you have to get for them to be good, if you can't kill enemies that quickly, and the fact that Aegeus is in the game, I throw it here. Just being mean, it's an E tier item. Stun Grenade. Good for proccing Deathmark. Good for stunning enemies. It scales logarithmically though, so the chance doesn't go up that high. If you're running a bunch of 57 leaf clover, it goes pretty high. I'm only going to put it D tier. Sticky Bomb. Good. Good item. Extra damage. Has a good explosion radius for groups of enemies. And its chance on hit. This is C tier. It's good for just extra damage. It's just generally good. Roll of Pennies. This is F tier. This is you gain gold on being hit. I don't plan to get hit very often. And I never struggle to get gold. So I really don't see the point in that item other than putting it through a 3D printer. Mocha. This is the movement speed item I will always take because it does attack speed. I'm going to say it's A tier. It doesn't do very much either, and you can kind of fine-tune exactly how fast your character wants to be. But obviously, if you're running somebody who doesn't use attack speed, you run Goat's Hoof. But this is for everybody who I run who has attack speed as well. It just adds a little buff to the attack speed whilst you get to move faster. It's taking 2 items instead of 1, basically. It's really good for the early, and it will help you out throughout the entire game. A tier item. Lensmaker glasses. They scale linearly, so getting 10 would give you 101% crit chance, and getting the other crit chance items, you get an extra 15 if you have Shadow Spleen, Predatory Instincts, and Harvester's Scythe. So you only need 8 of these to have 96% chance crit. To have 96% crit chance. I'm throwing this up A tier. It's not S tier. If there wasn't any other crit chance items in the game, actually no, it's going B tier because of 57 leaf clover. If you have Predatory Instinct, Harvester's Scythe, and Shadow Spleen, that gives you a total of 16% crit chance because you start with 1%. If you're then running a red game, a red item game, where you're building 57 leaf clover, you don't need to pick these up ever. And the corruption of those into a 0.1 or 0.5% chance to instantly kill a non-boss enemy isn't good enough for me to want to corrupt them. So it's B tier. Gasoline. Do be A tier. I could have put it lower. You have to kill an enemy to get it to proc. That's the bad point, but the burn damage helps with clearing out waves. The main reason it's A tier, though, is because of a green item called Ignition Tank, which insanely buffs the burn damage by 300% damage, and that stacks linearly. So this, if you have 10 Ignition Tanks, you could shoot one enemy and clear the entire wave with just this item. So it's real good. Firework Bundle. Good for buying items without being harassed, but I'd never really get it on purpose. I'd be tempted to put it F tier if it wasn't for the fact that Pocket ICBM is in the game. Because of Pocket ICBM buffing this insanely, it's going E tier. Focus Crystal, the melee character's staple. This is going S tier. Might seem a bit odd. I'm being slightly generous, but because of its versatility that you can take it on a ranged character's build, it just means you can clear out teleporter events easier because everything's close to you, and if you're close to something, you do an extra damage. So it's versatile on every character, and it's just flat damage increased to everything close to you, so why not? Energy drink. It does only sprinting speed, so it's not as good as Paul's Goat Hoof. I'm going to be mean and put it E tier. The reason for that is when doing the platforming for the Void DLC boss, I kept not being able to do the platforming because I was too fast and I didn't have any jumps, which is my fault, but it was really frustrating. And becoming too fast kind of hinders your ability to play the game. It can be funny, but not if you want to win. Damaged wristwatch. This is flat increase unless you hit 25% health and then it breaks. Unfortunately, Power Elixir doesn't save this from breaking. It's D tier. Cautious Slug. This is extra healing when out of combat. Later stages, you're almost always in combat, and if you have any lifesteal items or anything else, it's really not worth picking up, especially if you have a Weeping Fungus. It's not worth picking up because you'll heal out of combat just because you're running away from things. It's going F tier. I might pick one or two of those up just to buff my healing even more, but I really wouldn't do it unless I was running out of ideas. Crowbar, the one-shot machine item. This is A tier. I take that on Loader. I take that on Railgunner. If you want to kill a boss as quickly as possible and you have somebody with Crowbar on your team and they smack them at the very start and take half their health off, it's Crowbar to thank. It's real good. Soldier Syringe. Just flat attack speed. I'm throwing it here. It did break my game. I'll admit it broke my game. But it's real good for anybody who... Actually, no, it's going B tier. It's good for anybody who has attack speed in their kit. Huntress, Commando. It's not good for anybody who doesn't have attack speed in their kit. Somebody like Mercenary or Railgunner. It's a real good item. And I don't really take them early on in the run for whatever reason. I always wait till like stage 4 before building this. Everything else is just kind of more important. Backup mags. This is good for almost every character. It's B tier. It's one of the things that you can take on almost every character and it would help you out in some way. Bison Steak. 25% increase to health. 25%? I wish it was 25%. 25 increase to health. It's not really worth taking. Infusion is better. Personal Shield Generator is 8% of your health, so that's way better than Bison Steak. I would just never really get it on purpose, unless I was doing a God run and I just wanted an even bigger health pool and there was nothing else I really wanted to get, then I'd get this, but no other time. Bustling Fungus. It's S tier. If not for the fact that it's the engineer staple, because of the Survivors of the Void items and Weeping Fungus, this becomes one of the best items in the game. If you're not engineer, you corrupt it with Weeping Fungus, and when you run away, you immediately heal back all of your health, pretty much, if you have enough stacks. So, it's an S tier item. Armor Piercing Rounds only does boss damage. That's good, but I almost never really do it. Everything else in the kit will give me enough damage to deal with bosses, and this doesn't help you deal with normal mobs, so it's going probably D tier. And Warbanner. Warbanner is good early on because you level up frequently, you get a lot of buffs, it's attack speed and movement speed. Later in the game, you don't really level up, and especially if you're doing the Mithrix boss fight, the chances of you leveling up whilst doing the boss fight is slim, so you won't get this buff when you need it most. It's F tier. I never get it. Anyway, I'm sure people will have some massive disagreements with me there. But yeah, this is just what I think the items and how they should be tiered as should look. That was not a sentence. Anyway, if you enjoyed that, I will be doing tier lists for the uncommon items and the other items in the future, and I just want to know if there's any major changes you'd make to this and why. Try and make me change my mind. Anyway, if you liked it, please leave a like, helps me out. If you want, subscribe, that also insanely helpful. And I shall see you in the next one.